Today's video is sponsored by Rocket Money.
Hey y'all, it's me, Bus Vanessence, and welcome back to Hot or Hot. And today we'll be taking a look at some drama involving Raven finally addressing the blackfishing and blackface allegations, then taking a look at a growing list of drag race queens around the globe saying they're struggling to get bookings, and finally breaking down episode 5 of Canada's Drag Race season 5, the one where they totally went 90s, duh. And first up, let's talk about Raven. So this moment I think has been long anticipated in the online drag race fandom. Because for as far back as I can personally remember being involved in the online drag race community, I have seen allegation after allegation of Raven doing blackface or blackfishing with her looks. And for other relevant context, Raven does not identify as a person of color, but as a white American with Russian ancestry. And this was a topic, while hotly debated in many online circles, it was never something she directly talked about or addressed in any meaningful way. But this past week, she appeared on Monet X Change's new podcast called Monet Talks, and finally talks at length about what's been going on and addressing those blackfishing and blackface allegations. This is how Monet started the conversation.
And something else they come for you for is they saying that, so why aren't you talking about Raven doing blackface? Oh, how she was not this color before. So set the record straight.
And before we listen to what Raven has to say, I do want to quickly define these two words, blackface and blackfishing. Reading from Wikipedia, blackface is the practice of performers using theatrical makeup to portray a caricature of black people on stage or in entertainment. And blackfishing, from Wikipedia, is a term popularized in 2018 by writer Xana Thompson describing female white social media influencers who adopt a look perceived to be associated with black people, including braided hair, dark skin from tanning or makeup, full lips, and large thighs. Critics argue blackfishing takes attention and opportunities from black influencers by appropriating their aesthetics and have likened the trend to blackface. In answering Monet's question, Raven talks at length about her tanning habits, saying this:
I can get tan. And I've been darker than this. If you cannot tan, you don't. I have the ability to get tan, and I have the ability to go out in the sun and brown. And when I don't, I go into the tanning bed. And then in order to match everything up, I have to deepen my foundation.
She then gets more serious, acknowledging that blackface is a very serious thing that she would never do, and claims to have a close circle of friends that have affirmed to her that her drag is indeed not blackface, saying this:
When that whole thing first started happening, I was like, uh-oh. And then I remember, talking to a couple of friends about it, and they were like, that's not what you're doing. And I said, I know that. And they said, well, fuck them. Who cares?
Yeah.
And I said, but I don't want to offend anyone. And they were like, that's not what you're doing. And I said, okay.
Raven and Monet then go on to discuss the concept of blackfishing, saying this:
well, blackfishing comes from catfishing, which means I'm trying to get you to believe that I am this.
Yeah.
You know I'm not.
But also blackfishing, there's other parts of that, right? Like changing your vernacular and how you speak and doing all these things.
And so Raven and Monet seem to come to an agreement here that what Raven is doing is not blackfishing, but I can certainly understand why this topic continues to get brought up time and time again, because there are elements of what she's doing that do fit the Wikipedia definition, at least, of this topic. Just to give a little bit of contrast to the Raven situation, I want to talk about the example of Rachel Dolezal, who was a woman self-identifying as black and going out of her way to adopt black aesthetic in order to achieve a perceived black identity, which she then leveraged into the opportunity of becoming the president of her local NAACP chapter. And I bring up the Rachel Dolezal situation again to highlight that Raven is not self-identifying as black and doesn't seem to be leveraging her complexion into taking opportunities from people of color. But whether people are okay or not with her excessive tanning is another question entirely, and I think will depend on the person. And now in other drag news around the globe, we've got a growing list of queens who are affiliated with the Drag Race franchise speaking out about struggling to get bookings. A couple of weeks ago, a queen named Chloe Clark from Drag Race Belgique Season 2 spoke out about having an empty schedule, despite putting everything she has in her drag, including her last bit of savings. It seemed to come to the conclusion in her post that no matter what she did, her drag just wasn't going to be successful. In replying to that X post, we saw Sminty Drop from Drag Race UK say, I promise it's not just you, babe. Most of us UK girls are struggling to get bookings. A lot of us even have secret day jobs to help us make end meets. I've had 4 bookings all year. And Gahd from the current airing season of Canada's Drag Race also echoed her sentiment, saying, it's hard out there right now. I have friends in the drag world, but also burlesque, stand-up comedy, live music, and theater that all say the same. We had a boom right after lockdowns ended and people were celebrating, and then all of a sudden people just stopped coming out. And then this week, Pride.com dropped an interview between Ricky Cornish and Salina EsTitties where she talks about queens everywhere struggling to get bookings, including herself.
They're struggling, bitch. There's not a lot of gigs. There's an oversurge of queens and not enough gigs. And then when the season comes out, they're the priority. So it's really hard for the girls to like stay above water. I'm finding and I'm hearing, may not be shown on Instagram or out in the world, but that's the truth and the reality.
And honestly, with the way World of Wonder turns out seasons of Drag Race, it's no surprise that there are queens all around the world now struggling to get bookings. Because at the end of the day, there really are only so many venues that book drag talent. The number of queens who have been on the show across every franchise goes up by well over 100 now every single year. And so even if we were just looking at US queens touring the US, math just doesn't support that the average fan is going to be able to see every queen on any given season, much less also have time for queens from prior seasons, or the ones currently touring with All-Stars seasons, or the international ones who happen to come to the US as well. And now without further ado, let's move on to Canada's Drag Race Season 5, Episode 5, where the dream of the 90s is still alive in Canada. In today's episode, our Little Maple Leafs split themselves into groups and were challenged to come up with lyrics and choreography to 90s girl group tracks Duh, a girl power banger intended to pump up your home slice, and Not, an attitude-filled anthem throwing shade at a frenemy.
But you know what the real gag of the season? The other day I was standing on business and going through my personal finances with the help of today's video sponsor, Rocket Money, and discovered I was being charged for a streaming service I thought I canceled 6 months ago. Luckily though, Rocket Money is here to save the day. Rocket Money is an all-in-one personal finance app that helps you cancel subscriptions, lower bills, and manage your money better. Rocket Money safely and securely identifies all of your recurring subscriptions and puts them into a single list to give you a bird's eye view of where the heck your money's going every month. Rocket Money can also help you lower your monthly bills on services like cable and internet. Personally, I use this feature to have Rocket Money negotiate the lowering of my internet bill, something I didn't even know was possible, and they saved me hundreds of dollars. But what I love most about using Rocket Money is just having all of my personal finances from multiple different banks and credit cards in one place, where I can also easily monitor my credit score, set budgets, and see my spending by category, which ultimately helps me save money. Rocket Money has helped its customers save up to $740 a year when using all of the premium features, and helped their customers save over $500 million on canceled subscriptions alone. Take control of your finances today and visit rocketmoney.com/bussyqueen to get started for free. Your future self will thank you. Thanks Rocket Money for sponsoring today's video.
And now in the order we saw the queens perform, first up we've got Jaylene Tyme, who starts off her group's track Duh singing, "Looking at all the huggin' had me like totally buggin'. We're in this together, best friends forever," which were simple lyrics that, yes, hit on the power of friendship and checked off that brief, but I don't think did much more than that. But the bigger issue with the performance Jaylene gave was in the physicality of her choreography. She was really struggling to keep up with the relatively simple dance moves that her group had in the wide shots, and didn't really do much dancing at all during her solo performance, other than her signature walking here, doing some spins, and walking there, and doing some spins. Mostly I just saw this as a big missed opportunity from someone in this competition who honestly has felt like a force of power and charisma, which kind of made me sad to see, but objectively I think the performance was a rot. And over on the runway for her Grunge and Glamour fantasy, she is giving us something that to me immediately read as like Stevie Nicks. It's very witchy and flowy, and she says this aesthetic was easy to tap into because it has an authenticity for her, because it was a lived experience she had, having actually been an adult in the 90s. And in that context, I do appreciate this look because I can see how this look is very 90s grunge streetwear, with I suppose a touch of glamour with a sparkly necklace. But I don't think enough glamour for the Drag Race runway, or enough glamour given the brief being half glamour. I mean, down to the beanie on her head, this look read more as fast fashion than the look she created for the fast fashion runway last week. And the crazy thing is, we know she knows how to serve glamour. She's done it many times on this runway already. But this again was just another missed opportunity for her. And again, while the look is cute, it's just not giving ready for the runway, so I'm gonna give this a. And next up, justice for Helena Poison, who in the challenge gives us some really fun lyrics like riding our bikes through the back streets, rec room forts out of bed sheets, drinking slushies at the mall, got matching yin yang mood rings, y'all. Her verse was just a dump of fun nostalgic moments and items from 90s childhood, and I was really gagged to see her read so much for this performance because the verse was so great. Mostly the judges did focus on critiquing her physical performance, highlighting that they felt she was more focused on helping Jaylene get through her choreography than focusing on letting herself shine in the moment. But I have to point out, it is truly ironic that the judges give this critique critique to Helena while she's in a girl group writing a verse about supporting your best friend. Like, if anything, I think it could be argued that the performance she gave was just really in theme with the track. But aside from that discussion of irony, I don't think the choreography she gave was that bad. Like, sure, she was trying to, I think, bring her dancing down a level to Jaylene's because she was paired up with her in moments and was helping her. But in her solo moment, I think she shined really nicely and gave a great performance and was very animated and had the best stage presence in her group in that moment next to, like, oh my god. So I'm gonna give Miss Poison a hot here. And over on the runway, her grunge and glamour is simple, but I think effective in achieving the brief. She's in a rhinestone denim jumper that has a multicolored plaid train shirt wrapped around her waist and hitting the runway. And like, sure, I can agree this isn't the most intricate or extravagant look on the runway tonight, but I can say she achieved a good silhouette here, and I think she looks cute in the look. Stylistically, I probably would have swapped the yellow hair for black or blonde and not use the butterfly clips because I don't think those are giving grunge and glamour. But overall, I was yet again surprised to see the judges read this look down so fiercely, and was even surprised to hear her agree to the judges that this wasn't the level of drag she was hoping to serve on the runway. But again, I'm going to disagree with the judges and again here give Miss Poison a very safe hot. And next we got Minhi Wang, who in the challenge sang, "We're totally together, just like MSG. So fresh and so tasty. Can't get enough of us, feeling so damn parched. Umami." MSG, by the way, if you don't know, is a flavor enhancer commonly found in like Chinese food. And I may be wrong in saying that I was hoping for something a little more like 90s nostalgic, like Helena Poison's verse. And so I guess her lyrics about MSG kind of confused me in this track, but they weren't bad considered alone. And she did hit the nail on the head with the brief of friendship. But unlike Helena, I actually thought Minhi struggled a little bit more with her general stage presence, especially in the solo moment of delivering her verse. She just kind of looked a little confused or unsure of her blocking and where she was going and what she was doing. And so I leave what she did here with a warming up, but I also want to say her group at large did very much struggle with choreography. It really was all of them. Like, there's this one shot where they are doing like this as a dance move, just kind of rocking their hands back and forth. And I'll just say that we have seen better and more complex choreography executed on the Drag Race main stage before. And Minhi's runway tonight really wasn't a redeeming moment for me either. She chose to separate the idea of grunge and glamour into two distinct concepts. First, supposedly giving glamour with this black trench that has a cowl neck hood, and then giving grunge in that black coat reveals two black fishnets and some plaid top and skirt. Ultimately though, I just didn't really love either of these looks individually, and putting them together didn't really make sense for a coherent storyline. And so I'm gonna give this runway a. And next up, it's our Doug group leader, oh my god, who closes out her group's number with probably my second favorite performance of this group. She's saying, "Steady buddy, you're the best. Stay up late, prep for the test, then we'd kiss, just as friends. Oh my god, are we lesbians?" It was perfectly quirky and weird and camp in the oh my god way that I think we're growing to love and appreciate. And again, her whole group really did struggle in the choreography department in the group moments, but in her solo effort, I think she very much succeeded, kind of like Helena did. And as we've seen her demonstrate before in this competition, she is a good performer, and she delivered on that in this performance. I'm gonna give this a. And over on the runway, when she turned the corner, at first I thought this was Helena Poison because she is in all green and she didn't do the crazy cheek contour thing. She went for, I'm not gonna say a more normal makeup because it's drag, but she went for a more normal drag face makeup. And she talks about how this slip dress is inspired by Courtney Love, a 90s rock icon. By the way, if you haven't listened to the whole, please go give that a listen. And she's attempted to grunge up this glamorous green slip with a tattered green sweatshirt that has some like plaid sleeves underneath. And I can appreciate what she was going for and the style references she was using, but I just don't think the aesthetic came to the finish line here. It's a reading as very separate pieces that were conjoined together in an unsuccessful delivery. And the choice to do the long wig with all of the stuff also going on up here is just too many layers, too many textures, and too many things. This is a green. And next up, moving into group number 2, who got the song Not. First up, we've got Xana, who starts off this challenge aggressively with a lot of energy. She rapped, spoke, "We're not friends, you're a means to an end, no matter how many notes you send," which is actually like a cute way to start the verse. But then everything else after that felt like an assault of word salad sprayed at random rhythm. You've got major split ends, fake number 1 in first place. I can read phony all over your face, blast off into outer space. signed, sealed, and delivered, end of case. Which I will also say is a cute closer. It was really just like that middle chunk of her verse. It was delivered like, I don't know, like she was at a slam poetry thing, which isn't totally off brand for the 90s, I guess. There were just way too many words in this verse for it to fit into the time allotted of her verse. And her solo choreo was actually okay. She did her stunts that she always does, like her splits. But as the judges do critique her, she is off rhythm with the rest of her group in the wider group shots. And so this was like a soft rot for me. And over on the runway, she's giving us a reference to one of her favorite 90s TV shows, Buffy the Vampire Slayer, which I will admit I was not familiar with. I was more of a Charmed girly myself. But after looking up the reference and then seeing how she really dragged it up by adding all that metal spike detailing to the leather jacket and making the dress all crazy with the dye, I was starting to feel the fantasy a little bit more. And while I don't think it's like my favorite thing on the runway tonight, I like what she did, and I like that what she did was unique amongst this group of queens. So I'm gonna give this look a hot. And next up from the House of Couture, it's Makayla. And in the challenge, let me firstly say, and I know I've said this before, but I will say it again, Makayla Couture is a star. She rapped and sang on this track, found my light and I'm bright now. And I liked in her lyrics when she rapped and sang, you really played me like a stereo. Said I was the devil, but you brought the hell. Now I'm on another level, you can rock with me. Don't hit up my line, cause we're frenemies. And I think on the track, her delivery was flawless. And in the performance, the choreo she gave was studied, aware, and giving charisma house down boots. She was basically running circles around that stage, proving that she could lip sync, perform, dance, and really do it all. And I'm gonna give this performance a hot. And her performance was good, but what really got me tonight was this runway, which was absolutely incredible. She is giving us layered, baggy, and distressed denim accessorized with I don't know how many gold chains, in a phenomenally styled wig reminiscent of the hairstyles in the movie Baps, which is a great 90s reference to pull into this 90s grunge and glamour runway. All the details of this are just absolutely delectable, like from the different washes of denim, the stoning, and the way she's incorporated accessories like grills into her mouth. I would say though this look is primarily glamorous and maybe not giving quite enough grunge for a runway that's supposed to be grunge and glamour, but I'm gonna say that there's enough oversized and distressed denim here to check that box and give this look a hot. Because let's be real, this is one of the most sickening looks to ever walk the Canada's Drag Race and main Drag Race stage. I love this. And next up with the A at the end, it's Perla, who gave us an interesting twist in her performance by adding in a layer of spookiness, which I think maybe had some mixed success here, but mostly kind of confused me. She's saying, make you smile like I love you, but I haunt your dreams. I just came to taste your screams, which is cute, but I was just kind of left wondering like, how did we get here? Because nothing about the prompt was related to spookiness or ghouls or anything like that. And she's not even known as like a spooky or Halloween queen. And then in another lyric, she sings, called you the teen dream, now you're left with burns, gonna break you down like a Saturn Returns, which I think is referencing the 90s movie Jawbreaker with the teen dream lyric. And then the Saturn Returns lyric seems to mean, based on my online research, something about referencing the astrology concept of self-reflection. I just thought these lyrics as a viewer were kind of hard to follow and were maybe a tad cerebral for something like a Drag Race bitch track, but I can't deny she sounded phenomenal on the track, and the performance she gave was top-notch and definitely one of the best on the stage across both groups. She's an excellent dancer and knows how to serve face on the stage. This performance was hot. And over on the runway, she is giving us a gorgeous black mesh gown with a mermaid skirt silhouette and little peekaboos of yellow plaid in the panty and on the covers. Perfectly, I think, achieving that glamorous but grunge aesthetic here with details like the updo, the cigarette earrings, and having her name Perla on the choker around her neck, and another necklace that said P dangling a little lower. And also, it's probably my favorite wig that she has worn. I love the rhinestones in it. I love the yellow dip dye, and this look, to me, is, I think, a flawless execution of this brief, and I think the best Perla has looked on the runway, and is one of my favorite looks of the night. And I also disagree with the judges here for saying that she looked too pale in this look. I don't understand how warm tones would have even looked good in this look, because she's going for like a grungy, punky goth thing. And what I did like about her makeup was actually the spottiness that she put in the eyeshadow and the thinner brow that she did, which I think looked so much better for her face shape. This look was like totally hot. And finally, we've got the Virgo queen, who closed out her group's verse rapping, yo, this is whack with your vile behavior. This disrespect is making me sick. And then ended her verse singing, lay down and open up your mind, do the work. Thank you very much. I thought it was really fun to hear how she balanced rap with those really great vocals, and then also left a lot of space in her verse for you to chew on what she was saying. Unlike Xana, who opened up their girl group with enough lyrics for all four of them. Virgo's performance was also smooth, choreographically speaking, and her stage presence was, as it always is, powerful. And more generally about her group as a whole, I do want to highlight they really took it upon the group to give themselves more challenging choreography, both in group and solo moments, and it paid off. They looked, sounded, and performed leagues better than the first group, but at the same time, I will also say this group's track overall sounded a little less 90s than the first groups, and came off a little more like a standard Drag Race bitch track than being in theme with what they were asked. But I did enjoy the show, and I'm gonna give the Virgo Queen's performance a high. And over on the runway, Virgo Queen actually came out first, and so I was thinking, oh, this is gonna be my most favorite denim and rhinestones look on the runway tonight. Nobody's gonna be able to beat this. And then we had Makayla come out in her denim rhinestone creation, and I was like, oh, somebody beat it. But that's not to say Virgo Queen's look wasn't also beautiful and amazing. I love how she rhinestoned every centimeter of that plaid shirt train that was wrapped around her waist and high-waisted straight leg jeans. And I loved all the silver metal hardware accessories around her neck, which were mirrored in the actual fabric that was used to create the bodice, where you can see the silver chain going across her chest. This look was hot. And concerning placements, the judges call out Makayla, the Virgo Queen, and Perla as the tops of this episode, and Jaylene, Xana, and Helena as the bottoms. And I really was surprised to see Helena in the bottom tonight, because she had one of my favorite verses of both groups. And instead of having Helena in the bottom three, I probably would have swapped her position for Minhi's. And then actually, instead of having Perla in the top three, would have put Helena there with Virgo and Makayla. And the win tonight does go to Makayla, who I was very happy for. I would have also been happy with a Virgo Queen win. And I would say that she's got a tough decision with the Golden Beaver tonight, but honestly, she didn't. Because with Helena in the bottom three with Jaylene and Xana, I think the choice to give the Beaver to Helena was obvious. She was the only one of these three who hasn't already been saved by the Golden Beaver. And she probably shouldn't have been in the bottom in the first place. Which means we get a lip sync from Jaylene and Xana to Here Comes the Sunshine by Love Inc. And this lip sync honestly was a little underwhelming to me. But given that we know neither Xana nor Jaylene are the best lip syncers based on what we've seen so far in this competition, that didn't surprise me. Xana was giving us her stunts and tricks, which are always fun to see, but she delivered this lip sync with an intensity that was a little scary at times. Like, she was so intense for a song about like happiness and sunshine that I was like, girl, like, let's calm down and have a breather for 1 second. And Jaylene, we know the story here. She spins, she walks, and God, I love her so much, but this was not the performance to give here. She needed to assert herself and give us a lip sync that we weren't gonna forget, and prove to the judges that she is an excellent performer and can deliver on lip syncing, which is a foundational component of Drag Race. And unfortunately, she hasn't done that and didn't do that tonight. And so she sachets away, which I think was the right choice by the judges. And this episode did feel like a big missed opportunity for her, but I hope she knows the positive impact she had on this franchise, and all the fans watching around the globe was not unnoticed. And finally, let's talk hottest hots. In the challenge, I'm gonna give it to Makayla Couture, and on the runway, Makayla Couture. It was a sweep, bitches better start mopping. I also asked my patrons to vote on their hottest hots, and this week they've chosen the Virgo Queen in the challenge and Makayla Couture on the runway.
And I want to give you one last reminder to take control of your finances today by visiting rocketmoney.com/bussyqueen to get started for free and unlock even more features with premium.
And lastly, I want to give a special shout out to Jess and Anthony Zayuli, who just joined my Patreon at the hot and hottest hot tiers, and Ashton, Felicia, Laura, Matthew Burns, Miko, Minst, and Will and Tana, who are all supporting me at my Bussy Queen collector tier at patreon.com/bussyqueen. See y'all later. Love ya. Bye.